Hi everyone, I hope this finds you doing well today. This will be a brief video talking about things that bridge the gap between the Old Kingdom in Egypt, the time of pyramid building, and the New Kingdom, which is a time of empire and things of that nature. And this will be a brief video that goes back to that chart that we're talking about with the different kingdoms of Egypt that everybody is written down in class so that we know what goes where. So after the Old Kingdom, which is a time of pyramid building and Menes begins that and all of that, the first illness occurs in Egypt. Illness is just a word that's used to a low period in a dynasty or a time period in Egypt that something negative may have happened, whether it be a famine, a drought, something of that nature. And so in the first illness is a time of climate change, and the power of the pharaoh had declined. And so it could have been a famine as well. So all I want you to know is that after this old kingdom of the time of pyramid building, this a drought happens, a famine that changes things for Egypt, and it's a marked decline that brings us into the Middle Kingdom. In the Middle Kingdom, the pharaohs moved the capital to Thebes from Memphis, and the pharaohs begin to care for the welfare of the common people, because it's during the Middle Kingdom that the common person began to believe that they too had a ka, which is an eternal spirit, that they would have a chance to live forever. So it wasn't this push for everybody in the kingdom to be building this massive pyramid for their god, their pharaoh, who that they worshipped. And so now everybody had a ka, and that they might could have an eternal life as well. So the power of the priest is immeasurable now within this society, because they're also helping the common people enter into this afterlife with their rituals and chants, spells, incantations that would ease them into the afterlife and send them on their way into hopefully a good situation in the afterlife. And so it's during this time that the pharaoh begins public building projects and things that help the common people. They began to build irrigation dikes, canals for the people off of the Nile River. And this period is very productive for the people and the pharaoh, and it's somewhat a productive time. And then the second illness happens, and this time it's not a drought or a weather change or something of that nature. It's an invasion, and a group called the Hyksos, Hyksos, the Hyksos invade Egypt, and it's a rough time for Egypt as a whole. And they bring with them chariots that the Egyptians had not seen, bronze weapons, and things that were advanced in areas that the Egyptians had not known. And finally, a pharaoh, Kamosa, Kamose, drives out the Hyksos, and that would end the second illness. But something to know from the second illness is that the Hyksos invade, but from that, the Egyptians get chariots and bronze weapons. When they finally repel them, get them out of Egypt, that's one thing that they had that would bring them into the new kingdom. So from this invasion, there were a couple of positive things that happened, and that would take us into the new kingdom. And it's the new kingdom that many people think of when they think of pharaohs like Ramses, who was very powerful, from the Bible stories that people may have heard with Moses and Ramses II, Seti, those people that were powerful rulers of an empire. By this time, Egypt is an empire, which means they're conquering and ruling other peoples that we have said. And so this is a time of empire building and elaborate other kinds of tombs and Valley of the Kings and not pyramids. That's the old kingdom. But this is a different time, and we have our first queen, Hatshepsut. We'll be talking about that coming up next week. But for that takes us up to the new kingdom. The other thing that we might want to make sure that we know while we're talking about these dynasties and the pharaohs is a dynastic cycle. It's important to know what a dynastic cycle is. It's with any rulers or anything. It's a pattern that goes up and down and up and down. And anytime that you have a series of rulers from the same family, like a dynasty, as we've talked about in class, they can't all be strong or great rulers. And so when this cycle comes to a low point down here, that's part where it could be a very weak ruler, threatens of rebellions, things of that nature. So what we call a pattern of strength, then weakness and decline, strength, weakness, and decline, that's called a dynastic cycle. And it's a pattern of strength, weakness, and decline among dynasties. And you'll be sure to see that later on a test or quiz. That will conclude this week for Egypt and takes us up to the new kingdom. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.